Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Ockwell-Smith. Welcome to my latest SOS parenting video. Today I want to talk to you about a tricky subject, and that's how to cope when your child starts school if you really disagree with their discipline policies. I get so many questions about this, so I thought I'd put a quick video together. It is something I've mentioned in my book, The Starting School Book, but for those of you who want a refresher, let's have a quick chat. So, I think it's important to think about what form of discipline you're disagreeing with, and if you really have to focus on every single little thing the child does. It's impossible to find a setting that agrees with every single belief and principle that you have. It doesn't matter if it's a state school, if it's a private school, if it's something like a Montessori school or a Steiner school, you are never ever going to agree with everything that happens there. And that's, I think, just one of the unfortunate facts we have to think about if we are ever going to send our child to another setting, whether it's a preschool setting or a school setting. So the first thing to think about, what I would suggest you do is focus on a few real kind of non-negotiables. So things that really matter to you. So for me, my main non-negotiable is I don't ever want a school to give my children stickers because they've eaten all their lunch, or reward them for eating up everything on their plate, or punish them in some way for not eating their food. So I talk about this in my gentle eating book if you're interested in rewarding for eating. It's such a negative thing that can cause so many issues with eating. It was an absolute non-negotiable for me. So I had a chat with the school and said, please, I never want to see one of these stickers again. And I explained with them why. My daughter came out with a sticker on. However, there are other forms of discipline that are not my non-negotiables. I may not like them, but I recognize in a school setting they cannot possibly raise children in the same way that I would raise my children at home. Not least because they've got 20 or 30 other children to look after when I've maybe got 1, 2, 3 or 4 children at home. It's just not possible. But also because the way that children are raised are all very different. So they can't go and use the sort of methods that I would recommend in my discipline book for children who have been raised in a very sort of mainstream reward and punishment based way, because it's really tricky to apply this sort of one size fits all. I have contradicted myself though, because mainstream school discipline methods are one size fits all. But what I'm really trying to get at is I think it's important we consider the backgrounds that all the children have come from. So school discipline is largely crowd control. We know that if we look at the short-term effects of discipline and the long-term effects, something that makes kids quiet and compliant in the short term is probably not good for them in the long term. However, at school, with all of these kids to look after and the pressures of all the sort of the government and all the testing and Ofsted and things like that, they need more compliant children. And unfortunately, this is something that goes alongside with school. So there will be some things that they do that you would never dream of doing at home and you don't agree with, but that actually have to happen at school because there's not a huge amount they can do. I will add a little caveat here. There is a growing movement looking at more gentle, respectful, mindful discipline in schooling. I'd suggest if you are a teacher or you're interested, 2 starting points. Go and Google a website called Lives in the Balance and take their walking tour for educators. Or there's a book by a man called Paul Dix called When the Adults Change, Everything Changes. But a little bit off topic. So yes, there are things that schools can do to change, and that would be lovely. However, I think we have to live in the real world and understand the pressures placed upon schools and teachers and realise that they're not going to do everything that we like. So what can we do then? The most important thing is to understand that you at home are the primary influence on your child. So I added up when I was writing the Starting School book, the amount of hours a child spent at school versus at home, and this is waking hours. And I worked out a ratio that the time that children spent at home with their parents, if you include holidays and weekends, they actually spent 70% of their waking hours with their parents, roughly 70%. I think it was like 69% or something. And the rest of the time, about 30% or less at school. So even when they're at school full time, you still have the majority influence. What that means is what you do at home with your child is significantly more influential than anything that happens at school. So you must understand what you do at at home matters more than anything else. So you can still carry on with your gentle, mindful discipline at school, and it will have the biggest impact on your child. What I also have done with my own kids, and I should say here, my own 4 children have gone to regular state school with behaviour policies I've disagreed with. I have had many conversations with them at home about why school does certain things and why we don't do it at school. So why does school punish? Why does school use sticker charts or rewards? Why don't we do it at school? And I think it's important that our children have that empathy as well, so that they understand at school, you know, that this is what they do and you're not allowed to do that. And it's okay at home, because at home there's only a couple of us and at school there's 30 of you and they have to keep everybody safe. When your children understand the reasons for the school discipline, you'll find actually that things are very, very different, that you don't need to worry so much. And actually it's wonderful for building empathy and understanding in the children as well. So very much I would suggest that you explain with the child. And again, understand you are the primary influence. What you can also do is have a chat with the school if there's something you're very unhappy with. But I would say here, you're not going to change the whole way things are done. It doesn't matter if you go in with numerous articles or printed studies or blog posts or even books. You're not going to radicalise your school's discipline policy overnight. You could join the Parent Teachers Association. You could volunteer to become a governor on the school board. All of those may help, as could having chats with the teachers, but I think we need to reset our expectations of what could change. Remember the fact that you are the majority influence. It may be, and sometimes in, I would say, very rare cases, people realise that actually school is not for them, and maybe you may want to deregister and look at home education. But I would say, please don't worry too much. I have put 4 of my own children through regular state schooling with discipline policies I really do not like, and they're all great, wonderful kids. You know, think about the work you've put in before they start school and during there, and focus, I think, maybe on what you do a little bit more than what the school does. I hope that's helped. More in the Starting School book and the Gentle Discipline book, actually, if you want to learn more about my views on school discipline. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.